Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, going to go over an article titled Me, a 32-year-old female, with my husband, a 34-year-old male, of 10 years, complications of lying. Now guys, that was an awful title, but so I will try to explain a little bit more. This story is written by a woman, and she's pretty much going to share her story here and really be singing the blues, looking for pity, about how she essentially, because of her lying about her past, ruined her marriage. And you're going to see in her story here that her husband and her come from a very conservative community, religious community, and obviously having relations before marriage is, a bit frowned upon in their circle, things like that. And well, let's just say that she ignored that part of the community guidelines when she was younger quite a bit. But she lied to her husband about her past. Not just the past, who she was, the number of dudes that she was with, but also who she was with. And he thought everything was cool, but then eventually you're going to see circumstances arose where he found out about her past, or at least a glimpse of her past, and it was not pretty, let me tell you. And now things have obviously changed. And I'm doing this one, guys, for many, many reasons here, but just going to show you how you're going to see in this story how she's going to be looking for a whole lot of pity from people online, and how she doesn't quite understand how her lying about her past really impacted her husband. She just doesn't get it. And she makes him to be out to be the bad guy. It's ridiculous here. So I'm going to go through this a little bit more, you guys. You're going to see what I'm talking about. But as time is going on, guys, a lot of guys, when it gets, you can't hide the truth. Eventually the truth always gets out. And more and more guys are starting to realize, you know what? I'm not sticking around and being married to someone like this who lies to me, who does this, this, and this. I'm just walking away. And you're going to see here, this is exactly what happens here. And she doesn't like it. And before I get into this, guys, a big shout out to Randy for sending me the story. And I want to mention, guys, I'm making a big push into social media this year. So if you're on Instagram, by all means, come by and check me out, Strong Successful Male. You can see the link in the description. And if you're also on Locals, but don't follow me, check out me on Locals. That way I can then communicate with you guys and have extra stuff going on behind the scenes I think you guys will enjoy. I started Locals last year, and I got sidetracked by starting the other channel, amongst other things I was doing. And I apologize to you guys that follow me. I'm now getting back into it. It's a New Year's resolution of mine. So by all means, check me out, Instagram and Locals. Okay, on with the story. She starts out saying, I'm sure this isn't something new to you guys, but obviously I'm looking for some advice here. I lied to my husband years ago. I'm not proud of this. We have been married for 10 years and we dated for 2 years before we were married. Now, I knew him in high school, but we never dated. So again, she's 32 now and he's 34. So 10 years ago. So it looks like they met when she was about 18, give or take. Anyway, jump forward a few years and we meet back up again. We got together and did the whole dating romance stuff. During this time, at some point, we had the talk. The talk about exes and stuff. He had a very vanilla life, 2 ex-girlfriends, no big deal. I told him that I had, with 3 guys. 3 guys, my butt. Nobody's believing that. Mother Teresa had more guys than that. Okay, come on here. 3 guys. This lie is going to come back to haunt her. Look, in my opinion, when a couple gets together, or say they start dating and then they get serious and they have that talk, it is best to be honest 100%, because that is going to come back and bite you in the ass one day. You may think you can get away with it, but it could take a decade. Just like in this story, but it will come back to haunt you. Best to be honest. And it goes both ways, but not just women to men, but also men with women. She says, we get married, life is good. He has a good job and makes good money. He hates his new immediate supervisor, but who doesn't? That is very important to this story, guys, that he hates his new supervisor. Keep that in mind. Fast forward to this December and his company's Christmas party. I go with him and sit down at our table and start talking to friends of ours who work there, and he goes to get us some drinks. He comes back and says, honey, I want you to meet Bob. He's my new supervisor. I look up and I stare square in the eyes of an old friends with benefits that I had from the time I was about 19 to 21. Now, if you're doing the math, you will take note that yes, there was an overlap there. I stopped the friends with benefit thing with him after my husband and I had been together for a while. In reality, we'd only been dating about 8 weeks or so when I cut off the other, and even then it had only been a few times. We lost touch with each other after a couple of years. So, number 1, this supervisor that he can't stand, guess what? That's an old lover of hers. You want to talk about a shot to the balls there, right? A shot to the stomach. A major kick in the balls, major kick in the stomach. Okay? This boss, the supervisor he can't stand, they used to hook up. And when they were together, they first started dating for like 8 weeks, and I don't believe a word she says here, but this is what she's claiming. She was still hooking up with this dude. What does that say about her character? She's lied about the number of guys she's been with, as you're going to see. She lied. She was hooking up with some other dude who you're going to see is a total a-hole when they were together. And yet, she's the one writing this story, complaining and singing the blues, as you're going to see more as I get into this. What does this say about her character? Well, obviously, he recognized me right away as well, and immediately pulled me out of my chair and hugged me. That's not cool. Come on here. It'd be one thing if she ran into him on the street somewhere, or she was shopping in Target or at the grocery store and he gave her a hug, okay. But if this is this guy's boss, and at a big Christmas party in front of everybody, and he gives her a hug like that, not cool. He then sits down and starts talking and laughing and sadly drinking. He starts telling old stories and talking about old friends and really nothing too bad. My husband is sitting there but is totally oblivious to what is going on or who this guy is. Well, he can't be that oblivious. Obviously, they know each other from their past, and it's probably killing him because he can't stand a supervisor. But it gets pretty bad. Sadly, the more he drank, the more his conversation started to stray away from friends until he decides now would be the time to remember the time we went skinny dipping in the local lake. What an asshole. Obviously, that got my husband's attention. He then blurts out about making love on the hood of the car and how it warmed us up. This guy's literally like a dog, lifting up his leg and marking his territory. This is this guy's wife, and he's talking about this guy's wife right there at the table. I don't care if they had a past. Okay, she's married now. This is this guy's wife, and this is his employee. This goes to show you what kind of guy this is. And of course, people don't change, so she was attracted to this type of guy back then. Notice he was the friends with benefits. He was the Chatter Tyrone bad boy type. This poor guy, he never saw this coming. No guy should have to go through with this. I would have walked right out then and there. Honestly, I would probably pretty much, I would want to punch that guy out, to be honest with you. Everybody at the table went dead silent, and my husband looked like he was going to pass out. I just got up and walked out to the car. He never spoke to me on the ride home. I can imagine why. He didn't speak to me in the house, and finally, before he went to bed, I made him talk to me. As you can imagine, he was upset. Did I mention that he hated his new supervisor prior to this event? Yes, you did. He went to bed, but I did not think he slept any. Well, can you blame him? He's now wondering if she lied about this with this dude. What else is she lying about? What this whole number 3 thing she once told me back in the day, which was her partner count, I really have to question that amongst many other things. But again, this guy he can't stand. You think he can just shrug it off like no big deal? Well, clearly she wants him to. As I'm getting up the next day, for whatever reason, he comes to the conclusion that this wasn't one of the 3, which it wasn't. Well, now he starts to lose his shit, but calms down and goes to work. See, right there, she admits it wasn't. 3 my ass. You know the old joke, whatever. If a woman says a number, triple it. If a guy says a number, divide it by 3. Because both parties are lying for different reasons. But something tells me even if you tripled it to a 9, that still is too low, and you're going to see she's going to give her supposed number pretty soon. That night, I see him pulling the driveway, and he's just sitting in the car. I go out, and I can tell right away that he's been crying. He never cries, or he does. If he does, he goes someplace that I can't see, which is where he thought he was. I open the door, and I get him to come inside. Long story short, Bob decided to lay it all on the line and tried to act like they had a connection, and even told my husband they were Eskimo brothers. Bob is an a-hole, and he was back then as well. Well, yeah, this guy is a complete a-hole. At work, he's talking to her husband about this, their past. You got to be kidding me. But again, this guy knows what he's doing. He's like a dog marking his territory. Okay? And guess what? She says he was an a-hole back then. So she's the type that openly admits likes dating the a-holes, the jerks, the guys that you want to punch. Okay? Notice that she didn't get serious with this guy, but he was perfectly okay to do Lord knows what with, and you're going to find out she definitely did Lord knows what with Bob. Anyway, he gets mad and tells me that I either come clean with him about everything or it's going to be over between us. Then I start crying because I know this is going to kill him, but I know at this point I'm caught pretty much, so I let him know there was a 1 in front of that 3. So instead of 3 dudes, she said she's claiming here that she slept with 13. And to be honest with you guys, I still don't believe that. I think that actually reversed that number. Take that 13, turn around, make it a 31. I just don't buy this 13. But still, to this guy, 3, and she's more than quadrupled it to 13, and one of those is Bob, the supervisor. I mean, talk about, again, a kick to the stomach. She says he is now a shell of his former self. He calls in sick to work all the time, which he's never done before. And I know it because he just can't stand being there with Bob. You can't blame the guy. Perfectly honest, guys, at this point, I'd be looking for another freaking job. Well, no, let me backtrack here. At this point, I'd be looking for an exit strategy because clearly this woman, if this was me, it wouldn't be me, but you know what I mean? She's been lying all along. She's been lying about her past, her number count, and this guy has to question, what else is she lying about? Could she be lying about money? She could be lying about things about our family, all sorts of stuff here. And she was hooking up with this scumbag Bob. He just basically mopes around the house, and he's not touched me physically since that night. Every single time I try, he just tells me no. What do you expect? He doesn't want to touch you because he doesn't trust you. He's questioning, who is this person? Who is this gal I married? This is not the girl I fell in love with. This woman here in front of me is a liar. And I guarantee in his mind, he's thinking she's probably a W-H-O-R-E. And you can't blame the guy. She says, look, I get that this is deeply affecting him, and I know I was wrong, but this is over a decade in the past. We've been married this whole time, and we were very happy. Listen to her getting bitchy about this. Okay? Look, if the situation was reversed, and let's just say for argument's sake that he actually had a way higher number than her when they were apart, before they got together, and he lied about that number, she'd be upset about that. And imagine if they were at a work party, a Christmas party for her, and her female boss came by who she hated and found out that her husband was hooking up with her female boss. You can't tell me that wouldn't piss her off. You can't tell me that she wouldn't just be able to shrug it off and get over it that day. No way. Okay? But instead, she's making him out to be the bad guy here. This guy has plenty of good reason. Now, the only thing I would say this guy should be doing instead of moping around, I get him being upset, is that pretty much at this point, I would either be out of there or expressing my views on these things. But obviously, he's so worn down, he's not doing that. Not every guy is assertive in that way or confrontational. She says, I'm just afraid that he's going to hurt himself. He's never said anything about that, but I worry. Or hurt Bob, or he's just going to wither away. I'm also afraid he's going to be fired. Oh, that's what we're talking about here. I want him to keep making his money. I suggested counseling, but he just mumbles about it. Anyone have any ideas how to snap him out of this? Now on to the update for part 2 here. She says, I apologize up front as this is long. Several things have happened since I first posted this. I decided that you guys are right about one thing. Counseling is going to have to come into play here, so I set up an appointment for us. I will ask him to go, but if he doesn't, which you will read later, you will understand why he may not, then I'm going to go myself. I found myself turning into a person I did not like this weekend, so I need some help myself. Yeah, wait till you see what she did. By late Sunday afternoon, I guess I had just had it. He literally spent all day Saturday and up to that point all day Sunday sitting at the computer doing absolutely nothing. He would come to bed, and after I was asleep, and once he woke up, he went right back onto it. If I would come and try to talk to him, he would answer as quickly as he could and return to ignoring me. I tried to get him out to go out with me and work in the yard or take a ride or anything, and he just mumbled. I knew he was still having emotional issues with this, but for God's sake, it's been since the middle of December. It's time to get over it and start living again. See? Again, like I said before, if the situation was reversed and this was her boss that he had hooked up in the past who she hated, guaranteed that she wouldn't just be able to get over it the way she expects him to get over it amongst the other things going on behind the scenes. She wouldn't trust the guy. She'd question everything in their relationship, everything that's ever happened, everything the guy ever said, everything he ever did, amongst many other things. That's what was going on. But because it's her, he should just get over this. Oh, never mind. I lied about my past and all the dudes. And remember, as you're going to see here, also she'll mention they come from a very conservative religious background. So that's a big deal to certain people. And it is with this guy. She says, so Sunday comes around and I try to make a nice dinner for us and figure that I'm going to try and see if he won't talk to me. He comes out, puts his food on the plate, and eats so fast that I haven't even gotten done with my salad before he's up walking back to the computer. I snapped. I walked in and unplugged the computer on him and sat down in a chair in front of him and said that I was not going to give him a choice. He was going to talk to me and we were going to work this out. I do agree that inaction is a mistake. Him just sitting around all day looking at the computer is not exactly the most constructive thing to do. I would have confronted her right then and there and probably would have been gone pretty quickly. But a lot of guys aren't as assertive or confrontational as others. But I will say something needs to be done here because he's just kind of just dragging things out. But again, the fact that she's so pissed off making him out to be the bad guy, not cool. She says, he started to get up and I pushed him back into the chair, which I could tell aggravated him. Oh, not cool. Now you're getting physical with your husband. Not cool. He said that he doesn't understand why we need to talk. He's just trying to deal with things on his own. Which I then tell him he is not doing which I then tell him he's not doing this and that he has been miserable a-hole since the Christmas party and he has ruined Christmas for both us and our family because he is moping. He's the a-hole. She's making him out to be the bad guy because he ruined it. No. She ruined it. Her lying ruined it. Okay? She just thinks, hey, the statute of limitations, because it was 10 years ago, no big deal. No, it is a big deal. He just mumbled about being sorry, but it was the only way he knew how to deal with this. I want him to know that this was, I wanted to know what this was. I already knew, but I wanted him to tell me. He just looked at me. He then said, I can't look at you anymore, and got up and started to walk away. This is where I made a big, giant mistake, which I regretted when I did it, and I regret it now. I was so mad, hurt, emotional, that I slapped him across the face. First she's shoving him into the chair, and now she's smacking him. And the justification, I was mad, hurt, emotional. Not cool. If this guy didn't have reason to walk away, he's got one now. And again, what would happen if the situation was reversed? What would happen if the dude, the police would be over in 20 minutes? That's what would happen. I didn't think it was that hard, but I left a red mark on his cheek. I immediately said I was sorry and then started crying. Well, the go-to response, start crying, and therefore that makes everything better. I never seen him like this. My husband is a gentle man. He has never raised his voice to me in anger, nor has he ever done anything physical to me, ever. Well, I'm sure Bob probably did different things to you like that, and you probably liked it. He looked at me in the eyes, and he was not the man I know or love. This was a cold, heartless person who was looking at me. Again, you want to talk about cold and heartless? Take a look in the mirror, honey. Look how you're acting. Look at your past. He grabbed me by the shirt with his left hand, lifted me into the air, and told me that if I ever hit him again, he would not care if I was a woman and he would knock my teeth out. Whoa, not Bob, but the husband's not messing around here. Nobody should be hitting each other. He then put me down. I was terrified, but I was also still feeling guilty because I hit him first. He turned to leave, and I begged him to stay. What did I tell you guys about walking away, how powerful that is? She begged him to stay. He asked why, and I told him I still loved him. And then he started to laugh. He then said, you mean like you said you love me, but then you would turn around and go F Bob while I had to go home. Meaning when they first started dating, she was seeing him, and he thought they were exclusive, but she was still effing Bob. I didn't know what to say, but I figured him getting this off his chest was a good thing, so I tried to let him talk. But he stopped, so I just said that I was young and confused. That did not go very well, and however, it did have the desired effect, getting him to talk. So she blames her cheating when they first started together as she was being young and confused. Look, by the time you're that age, you know darn well it's not being young and confused. That's just an excuse to, not be accountable for your actions. Don't judge me. She knew darn well what she was doing is wrong. Anybody by the time they're 19, 20 years old, 21 years old knows that cheating is wrong. I don't want to hear I'm confused or some BS like that. I'm sure plenty of you guys have unfortunately heard that at some point. The problem was that though The problem was that, she wrote this wrong, guys. When he talked, he knew way too many details about my time with Bob. He even once said, don't try and deny it because Bob will be happy to come here and confirm it. I was dumbfounded at first, but then mortified because it became very apparent that Bob told him everything, and I mean everything. Locations, times, and worst of all, things that I had done with Bob that I had not done with my husband. What I tell you guys, or how many times have I told you guys that the guys that the women generally settle for when they're ready to get married and have a family and all that, the guys they choose usually aren't their first choice. These are the guys they settle with. And those guys, usually the nice guys that they settle with, the guys they know that'll make good marriage material, good husbands, good fathers, typical nice guy types. Believe me, they don't look at the guys the same, they don't treat the guys the same, and they sure as hell don't F the guys the same as the guys they did when they were younger, the bad boy types that they wanted. Because the bad boys got anything they wanted. But the nice guys, they get the bare minimum just to keep them around. And that kills a lot of guys. I did a story a couple weeks ago that did very well about a guy who found out at a party that his wife had a very wild past when she was younger and would do all these things with other guys that she wouldn't do with him, that he wanted to do, right? And she had all those BS excuses, but at the end of the day, she settled for him. End of story. And he left her. And by the way, Bob, her former lover, this guy's boss, the fact that he's telling him all these things. Now, I wonder if this guy was trying to find out. Who knows? But curiosity kills the cat. She says, after letting him rant for about an hour, I decided to finally just ask, where do we go from here, and how can we fix this? You can't. He said he didn't know where we would go, and did not believe that this was fixable, at least in the sense that he can just forget about it. There's no way he's going to forget about this, ever. If they were going to fix this, which, good luck, the first thing he's got to do is find another job, but he's not there all the time seeing Bob, and I guarantee you Bob was telling other people at the office, or wherever they work, and everybody knows about it. I told him that I missed being with him physically and that it was emotionally tearing me apart. He said he was sorry if my feelings were hurt, but frankly the thought of being with me intimately made him ill. Yeah, because all he can do is visualize her with Bob and doing Lord knows what with Bob. Well, he knows what he did with Bob because Bob told him. And her with other Chad and Tyrone types over the years when they were younger, and visualizing her cheating on him. So we argued some more about that, and he finally admitted that what I had suspected since that night. Had he known about Bob then, he would have never stayed with me, and in fact, that I had lied about it and hid it from him with so many years, on top of them being 10 more men that I slept with, has caused him to view me as a liar and a WHORE. If this are his feelings, he can't change that. Okay? He sees you as a completely different person. He doesn't know you anymore. He thinks everything was a lie. This hurt me like nothing else has ever had. To hear the man who I loved with all my heart for over 10 years to call me a WHORE and mean it. I gotta spell these things out, guys, because YouTube is really sensitive, as you know, and if I say too much of certain things, it could flag the video. He wasn't being mean intentionally, but he honestly felt that way. In his defense, where we live, the community is very religious and conservative, and yes, he grew up in that life as well. So sex outside of marriage is frowned upon in general, but casual you-know-what is pretty much taboo around here. Well, he had girlfriends too, but that doesn't even compare to her numbers, and I just don't buy that 13. I don't think any of you guys buy that 13 that she's claiming. I don't. Anyway, I asked, how are we going to deal with this again? He said he didn't know, but he was going to sleep on the couch. I went to bed that night and didn't sleep. I got up on Monday and he had already left for work. He was working the first shift, so I knew he would get off at 3 p.m. I decided I was going to go to confront Bob at the office today because he just pretty much wrecked my marriage. That is a huge mistake. Do not go to the office where this guy can maybe see you, or his coworker is going to see you talking to Bob and make things worse. Good luck. But she has to sound off and yell and snap her fingers and raise some holy hell. It's not going to do anything. My husband got off at 3, and I waited till I saw him pull away and marched inside the office to confront Bob. This should be good. I marched right into the office area and walked right past the secretary to his office. He was startled to say the least. I proceeded to rip him a new a-hole for being a real jerk about the entire thing, and he had effectively ruined my marriage. Bob's an a-hole, we can all agree there. Absolutely there. But if anybody ruined the marriage, it was her. But she's twisting around making Bob the bad. Bob is a bad guy on so many levels, I agree. But her lying to the husband. That's the root of all this. And sooner or later, he was going to find out anyway. I mean, it took 10 years, but he was going to find out one day. He told me that he didn't intend to do any harm. He thought my husband knew about him and thought the easier way to ease attention over something like this was to make light of it. He said that my husband has never said anything contrary to him about the situation. I told him I didn't give a shit, but he was to stop talking about us to my husband, and in fact, I told him that I thought it was harassment. He said he would not say anything else to him about it. I still left pissed because the damage is done. She goes on, here's the worst part. As I was leaving from the floor, below I could hear the cat call from his co-workers asking me if I had come to give Bob another run and all other forms of vile, cruel things. I wanted to yell at them, but instead burst into tears and ran out. My God, is this what my husband's had to go through? It is no wonder he's been the way he has. Exactly. Now start thinking of your husband, looking from his point of view. I don't know where he's working, but obviously his coworkers and boss, he's the type of guy, he may be a good guy, but they obviously don't respect him, because no guy that other guys respect and see as essentially someone they could respect is going to pull this kind of crap with him. So they obviously see him as weak. This literally sounds like high school, But yeah, now you're seeing what your husband's going through. Thank you very much. She says, I get home and his vehicle is not there. I go inside, and taped onto the TV is a letter telling me that he just can't deal with this. He is sorry for saying what he said to me, and he is very sorry for grabbing me. He said that for the next few days, he is going to stay at a hotel outside of town, so he can think, but the reality of this is he does not believe that this is something that he can ever forgive or forget. The first time I read this, guys, I saw that pretty much from the first paragraph, how this was going to go. And you can't blame the guy, because even if he can forgive her, he ain't going to forget, okay? Because every time they're going to be hooking up, he's going to picture Bob amongst the many others that he doesn't know about. And he's going to be questioning that 13 that she gave him. Is that 13 or is it really 31? And then saying, how come old Bob got all these things that I never got? All these types of things are going to be going through his head. It's just not working. But also, she's 32, he's 34. They're young. He can start over again and be fine. He said that while we were planning on having a child this next year, that he could not see going through with that. He understood that I am getting to the point where I'm losing years to do so, and I need to think about finding someone else. I am devastated. I called him, and it went to a voicemail. I sent him a text saying to call me, please. He just texted back saying that talking was the last thing he wanted to do tonight, but promised to call me on Tuesday before work. He called me this morning and just told me that he was going to work and that we can talk later. He called me back at around 9:30 asking me why the F I went to his place of employment. She has made the whole situation worse. He said that I had not done enough to humiliate him. Now he's the laughingstock of the building because everyone has been telling him I went there to F Bob. This poor guy. Like I said, this literally sounds like high school. I wonder if they're like in a small town somewhere. Middle America. And a small town, everybody knows each other. They've known each other since kindergarten. And because this is what it sounds like. This poor guy. And they obviously don't respect him. He said Bob denied that, but frankly, he didn't believe a thing either of us had to say. Who could blame him? He then told me not to call him, and when he contacts me next, it will be to find out what lawyer I am using. I don't want this to be over. I still love him, and the fact that he is in this much pain is killing me. Well, guys, that's how it ends. And pretty much this whole thing about her. Yeah, she throws in a little bit of this, like, he's hurting, it's killing me. But at the end of the day, this is all about her. She lied. She didn't tell about, they talked about each other's past in the beginning. She lied through her teeth. And, of course, she was cheating on him when they first got together. So you cannot blame this guy in the least for finding this out in the worst possible way, this a-hole boss. And eventually reacting the way he did. Now, I would have been more confrontational about it, but that's just me. But essentially, the second he found out about that, it was over. You could see it was over. But guys, here's the thing. No matter how much crap we go through and pain and all that, we can always start over. This guy can start over. It's going to take a while to get over things. I guarantee he ain't going to trust women again after all this. But he can move on and start over. In my opinion, the worst thing he can do is stay on in this marriage because it's not going to be good. And thank God they don't have kids because that'd make things far worse if they already had kids and the whole thing there. But what she had to walk away from this learning is if you're going to get in a relationship with somebody, you got to tell the truth. You can't cheat on them and have a friends with benefits think, oh, it's no big deal. We only just started dating. It does matter because it will come back one day. And the past will come back to haunt you. Okay, a lot of people think like, oh, happened so long ago, no big deal. It will come back. Okay, but you got to be honest with whoever you're with, and so on and so forth. So I don't feel bad for her. She's a jerk, and the fact that she's made him out to be the bad guy during all this, again, as I said before in the video, if the situation had been reversed, how do you think she'd react? Not too well. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And guys, if you come across a really good story, by all means, email it to me. Just make sure whether it's a story like this or an article, or if you're sharing a personal story, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. Just make sure it's written real well, make it easy for me to read, and I'll definitely cover it later on down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.